What's cracking, ladies and gentlemen? 49 coming out, another community shoutcast for... Oh, it's not actually for anything, it's just a scrim for shits and gigs, but it's in preparation for the ODL2. We've got Blink, currently undefeated in the Group 1 playoffs, up against Horsemen and Ruckus, who coincidentally also are undefeated in the Group 2 playoffs. So we've got the Unstoppable Force meets the Immovable Object, as Horsemen and Ruckus looks like they've got first pick this time around, and so they banned out the Lycanthrope, first of all, just because Lycanthrope's a hero that you never want to deal with, especially in the current metagame. It's not necessarily that the hero's overpowered, especially with all the nerfs that he's received. He is what I consider to be a reasonably balanced hero. It's just that the metagame favors Deathball lineups, and they favor pushing heroes very heavily. That's why the Shadow Shaman's so powerful. Because when you're grouping up as 5, and when you're constantly taking out the enemy towers and objectives, you're constantly giving yourself a huge influx of gold. And so Lycanthrope is incredibly powerful, and he's broken in the metagame because it favors these Deathball lineups, since he's not only is he pushing hero, he's also a pushing carry. And so with Just the Vladimir's offering, he already pushes faster than Nature's Prophet. And so he comes online very quickly, and once that pushing train gets started, it's very difficult to stop. And so it's the reason why Lycanthrope is almost always banned out. The only game he wasn't banned in TI4 was when he was during the main event anyway, was when he was picked up against DK for LGD China up against DK. And DK, despite being 20,000 golden experience ahead, actually completely threw the game because they lost one fight. When you lose a fight against the big bad wolf, he takes a set of racks, he goes right for the jugular and takes out your tier 4s and goes for your throne. Now I think the 20,000 goldie deficit might have actually been the biggest comeback game turnaround for any team in the history of Dota 2. Not too sure for Dota 1, but for Dota 2 I'm pretty sure it's definitely up there. Clockwork, first pick coming in from Horsemen and Ruckus, so going to be UGTFO and the signature hero, as it looks like they respect banned the Pandarian Brewmaster. And this Blink Dota, they've got two fantastic Pandarian Brewmaster players. They've got Zeki, who's their offlane player. They also have Victor, or Blink Saki-sama as is currently being called. I'll call him Bambi Quisling, since he is a bit of a sellout. And Quisling, his first name I believe was Vicken, so seems fitting enough. So he's fantastic, but although he's usually on the 4 or 5 position role, and so he won't be receiving the Pandarian Brewmaster, but Zeki or Flash could always pick him up. I don't think I've seen Flash play the Brewmaster, but he's a fairly experienced player. He's got a lot of flexibility with what heroes he can play, and so I assume that he'll have enough experience to be able to play that Brewmaster if they do want to run him in that aggressive tri-lane. But Blink Dota, they don't have that option anymore, so they're really starting to dip into the reserve time. UGTFO's Clockwork Goblin this game so far has a 100% win rate, just because they've won every single game. But Blink Dota, they go with the Shadow Shaman and the Death Prophet. So revealing the Death Prophet very early on. Actually, very surprising they chose, Horsemen and Ruckus chose not to go for the Templar Assassin, and that's the #1 counter to the Death Prophet. Death Prophet, she's got excellent base damage, and she's got the Crypt Storm to be able to control the creep wave as well as deal some harassment, but she has a horrible front swing, 0.6 before she throws out the attack, and so a hero like the Templar Assassin that has more base damage and has a better animation will completely roll all over the Death Prophet, especially since Templar Assassin can prioritize denies and still get last hits and harassment through sideblades, and if you're able to angle it up properly, which Kingkiller most certainly can, he's a very experienced Templar Assassin player. Bans out the Tidelander as well as Nature's Prophet. Viper ban coming out from Blink Dota. They don't want to deal with Kingkiller on the Viper, and for good reason. He is absolutely terrifying on that hero. He goes for a much more aggressive, active early game build, where he opts for 2 points in the poison attack, and then chooses to max out the Nether Toxin, with maybe even a 3rd point in the poison attack before he maxes out the Corrosive Skin. And the rationale for that build is because he's always going for solo pickoffs, or because he goes into engagements where he can quickly kill targets before they can turn around and react to him, so he always wants to play the aggressor. And we've got the Templar Assassin ban as well as Bat Rider pickup. So Bat Rider used to be first pick, first ban, and TI3 as well as TI2 and every other TI. He was always first pick, first ban ever since he's been introduced anyway, so 2 and 3. TI2 and TI3 was when he was introduced. But Bat Rider nowadays, he has tapered off because it's very easy to shut him down. He no longer has that comeback mechanic of just being able to disappear to the jungle and being able to burn down some creeps. Just because Sticky Napalm, it only gives half bonus damage, and so it doesn't seem like a big difference, but it cuts his farming time down effectively in half, and so it increases 50% more time for him to be able to effectively get the same amount of farm, and so that means that if Bat Rider gets a delayed 16-minute blink deck as opposed to the 11 to 13-minute blink that he's used to getting, you've got that 3-minute window we could take towers and get farm up on your core heroes. And we're going once again for an Abbadon as well as the Ember Spirit, so we could be seeing an Ember Spirit mid up against the Death Prophet as well as the Abbadon that core position being played by Dumble Sand King ban coming out from Blink Dota, so they're banning Method Man's favorite hero and the Razor safe lane pickup. Blink Dota, they've gone for more or less the exact same draft in every single game they've played. They love the Razor Death Prophet combination, and Zeki, he's usually the X Factor. He can play pretty much any hero in the offlane, and so they usually draft around him, so they'll give him whatever hero that isn't banned up they particularly need, but they almost always will go for the Shadow Shaman and the Death Prophet as their first and second pickup. At least in the first and second banning phase, they usually always pick up the Shadow Shaman. Shadow Shaman is the highest priority hero, and then they usually pick up the Death Prophet early on, if they can ensure that they can ban out the Templar Assassin. They ban out the Centaur Warrunner, which I actually completely disagree with, because they've got a Bat Rider pickup, so you've already got an offlane hero. Centaur Warrunner is terrible in any other role, so you only ever run him as the offlane hero. I guess you could run him as a solo offlane and have them clash aggressive. You could run him as the safe lane farmer. And no, actually with the Razor though, it doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, the Sentinel Warman I actually don't understand. The Ancient Apparition pickup works very well with the Shadow Shaman, since you've got the Vortex to provide that initial snare to ensure that Shadow Shaman, especially if he starts with boots, can get the shackle off. Ancient Apparition then pops the Chilling Touch, and you just go to town. So it's going to be Bambi up on that Shadow Shaman, his favorite hero. He's been playing it almost every single game. He's been playing for Blink. And Yoshi going to be over the Ancient Apparition. Very skilled Ancient Apparition player. He loves the Max Killing Touch build, and for good reason. It gives you such a huge increase of damage that if you Clash Try Retry, you're guaranteed to win just off the bat of the damage that you can deal, unless if you misplay and find yourself out of position, and then the enemy team's able to kill the Ancient Apparition before you can get that Chilling Touch. But it's very rare for that to happen, especially with an experienced team like Blink. They all know their roles. They drill them over and over and over again until it's burned into their brain. They're very practiced and coordinated with playing together. Horsemen and Ruckus have got a lot more practice under their belts, so both teams, Horsemen and Ruckus are actually stuck with the same roster, whereas Blink Dota, they've introduced Bambi Quisling as a replacement for DDY, who I believe is graduating, or is about to graduate, so he's unable to play. And Horsemen and Ruckus, deliberating on their 5th pickup, they've got the Skywrath Mage as their primary support, so now they have to pick up their secondary support hero. They have got a lot of flexibility to go with this. I mean, any hero, they could go with the Shadow Demon if they want to, because you've got that double amplification combo, so you use the Disruption into the Soul Catcher, and then Skywrath Mage follows up the damage. But that being said, the drawback to that is you don't have an immediate stun, and so the enemy team can simply run away. And so Shadow Demon, not necessarily the greatest pick. They go Witch Doctor, which works a lot better, because you got Concussive Shot instead of the Paralyzing Cask, then you have the amplified damage from the Ancient Steel, as well as the Malediction, so it's a massive amount of damage. And Witch Doctor actually scales very well into the late game. If he ever gets an Aghanim Scepter, he can tone fights on his own. And so we're going to be seeing Zeke up on the Batrider, Flash going to be here over on that Razor. I think he's played him almost every single game I've cast. I'm pretty sure every single game I've casted Flash is always on the Razor. And we're going to be seeing Snow up on the Death Prophet. I'm pretty sure he's been playing Death Prophet most games. Either Death Prophet or the Templar Assassin. And Blink Saki-sama, Bambi, stuck on his favorite hero, the Shadow Shaman. UGTFO going to be his signature Clockwork. Skywrath Mage, probably going to be played by Method Man, since we're going to be having a core position in Abbadon, and King Killer going to be the mid lane Ember Spirit. It's a fairly tricky matchup, the Death Prophet against the Ember Spirit, because the Death Prophet can burn down Ember Spirit's Flame Guard, since you never go for the Arteezy build anymore. You very rarely do. I mean, Validly from Sync 2 did utilize the Sync 2, the Arteezy build to great effect. But that was because of they needed to kite around the Sven, and so having early points in the Slayer Fist as well as the Searing Chain gives you a lot of control. But the disadvantage of the Ember Spirit against the Death Prophet matchup is Death Prophet's got more base damage than you, she's got more range, and she's got more armor. So Ember Spirit, he's got about 1 armor at level 1, and since he doesn't want to go for a stealth chill unless he absolutely has to, she could just bully him with right click. So we've got a quick pause coming here from Method Man. Looks like we're having a few internet issues on my end. Dumble's actually AFK, so Dumble D, please. Whereas in the mid lane, matchup, Ember Spirit relies on the Flame Guard to be able to help shield him from damage as well as to deal dot damage, control the creep equilibrium. But Death Prophet, she can burn down the Flame Guard much faster than King Killer can burn down the creep wave using the dot damage. And so DP usually has a very easy time against the Ember Spirit, and you never ever want to give the Death Prophet an easy lane. Because if you give her an easy game, since Dota 2 is a game of small advantages, if she gets that initial advantage in terms of CS, if she gets a level advantage, and if she's able to bully out of lane, she takes your tower, she groups up, she gets runes, starts rotating around the map, and you can't contain her. And if you can't contain the Death Prophet, she will take every single one of your towers, and that influx of gold going to the support heroes especially, means that you're going to be seeing a very early Arcane to Blink up on Bambi, on the Shadow Shaman. We'll be seeing a fairly early mech up on the Razor, and once that Deathfall comes online, it's very difficult to stop. The Ember Spirit gives you that advantage of being able to turtle, since if he's able to farm up a Battle Fury, it's very, very difficult to breach high ground against the Ember Spirit. Because he throws out a Slayer Fist, he drops the creep wave, he almost kills off the creep wave just off the back of the Slayer Fist, but with a bit more dot damage, with a bit more damage coming out from your other teammates, you should be able to clear it up very quickly, and you're also able to constantly harass out the enemy's heroes. And so as long as the Ember Spirit doesn't get caught out of position, plays very safe. Since the Batrider has to be the one that always has to jump on the Ember. And so the Abbadon pickup makes a lot of sense, because it means that if Dumble D is always right next to King Killer, so when the Batrider comes in, you can't jump Dumble D, because he's got borrowed time. The Nazgul doesn't give a damn. He's going to come back to life. You're not going to be able to kill him in time, because the borrowed time will pop, and because you have so much uncontrolled AoE to Mass Serpent onto the Firefly, as well as the Crypt Swarm and the Exorcism, he will be regenerating a fair amount of HP, even if you all stop attacking him. If those spells are out, he's going to take a fair amount of splash damage from all the abilities, and that's going to bring him back up to HP. And so the Abbadon will be guaranteed to be able to get a lot of benefit out of that borrowed time. And that means that if he could shield King Killer before Zeke can pull him out with the Force Staff, then King Killer just stands his ground and kills Zeke, because Zeke can't really do much. So Barrett is starting a boots first. Zeke, he always plays it very safe. He's going for a very unconventional safety ward. He loves going for safety wards here, as opposed to here, because these are the most common spots that are de-warded. Since a lot of plug players go for a ward there because it's very greedy, or you usually go for a ward there because it gives you a vision of both sides. But the disadvantage of going for these two wards, because they're so common, the sentry ward usually comes up around here from the spots, and that gives you enough vision to be able to spot out both of them. And so the advantage of this ward is very unlikely, unless you study Blink's games, unless you study how Zeke wards his places the safety ward, you're not going to expect it to be over here. And so that means that, or if you actually do expect that, he can decide to do the opposite thing and place it there instead. So that means that you expect him to place the ward there, he's actually placed it there. So you can do all sorts of mind games. You want to fake them out with your ward for as long as possible, because you're wasting sentry wards, so you're wasting golden sports who need it the most. And B, you're also, it actually looks like very aggressive D-warding coming up from Method Man to ensure that you can block off these camps. And you're also giving yourself more time that the ward is online. The longer the ward's online, the much more difficult it is for them to be able to kill you, especially on the hero like a bat since you got the flying vision and movement. And Stone's actually going to be caught out of position. He eats the concussive shot as well as the cast. Cast actually fantastic cast from Gats. Bounce back out. Staring Chain flies out. Yoshi's able to find some covering fire. Might actually get a turnaround killer with King Killer. And Method Man gets it. And unfortunately the hit lands. So Yoshi with a double damage as well as the Chilling Touch. This is the second game he's done this where he gets a double damage and with the Chilling Touch he's able to just right click people down. But he turns around and Method Man cleans them up. Usually Blink are the ones that usually Method Man's the one in position, but this time he punishes Yoshi with that misplay. And Yoshi, it's been a little while since he's been playing Dota since he is busy with real life duties, so it's starting to show. Bit of a sloppy play coming up from him. And Dumbledore abandons fantastic against the Bat Rider, because Bat Rider relies on sticky napalm stacks, and then Athletic Shield purges them all off. And Zeke actually has to be very careful. The Paralyzing Cast could be committed. Unfortunately, there's no Cruise. Metal actually used instead, and Dumbledore dives. Paralyzing Cast now flies up, unfortunately, a bit late. They needed one more right click. Gats taking a lot of damage. If the creep wave was there, if he could get another bounce off, that would guarantee the kill on Zeke. But Zeke, unfortunately, was able to just barely keep himself alive, so good recognition coming out from him. Actually opted to go for a sticky napalm at 1, so he thought he was actually going to be in that solo lane. Well, he at least was playing very cocky. You usually hold your skill point and you want to go for Firefly at 1. Napalm at 1 is just greed. It's to ensure that you get last hits. But the disadvantage of that is if they go on you like that, you got to be very careful, because it doesn't give you much defensive capability, because you're only going to get one stack off, and the stack is only relevant if they're turning around. If they're running right at you and they're not turning around at all, then the sticky napalm doesn't give you anything. You don't have enough levels in it for the snare to be effective, and you're not going to get enough stacks off for the snare to be relevant. And so King Kill in the mid lane, he likes to go for 2 points in the Searing Chain, and then he chooses to forego further points in the Searing Chain, and instead goes for points in the Slate of Fist to ensure that he could get a long range shackles off. So the disadvantage of this build, the advantage is that it means that you don't have to commit a Remnant, and you don't have to run up and risk yourself. So it gives you risk-free initiation on lockdown, which is very powerful. But the drawback is you lose a huge amount of damage, because Staring Chains at level 3 the damage doubles, because it used to go from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. And so the damage increase is still the same, so it goes from 120 to 240, which is actually a fairly significant increase in damage. Catches out Snow, he's able to do a fair amount of chip damage. So this is the advantage of the Ember Spear, is if you ever underestimate his damage, you're actually going to get a free kill on Snow. And Snow once again takes another death. Bit of a poor start coming up from him. He's usually pretty good in the mid lane. But the thing with that makes Blink so terrifying is even if the mid lane fails, the support rotations are usually there to pick up slack. And Flash, he's a very consistent and very safe player. He's very conservative. Similar to Burning, he doesn't like to play very aggressive. He doesn't go for these YOLO plays. He does his job. He plays it by the books, by the numbers. He makes sure that he doesn't die and he gets his farm. And because he knows that his team is counting on him. So if whatever reason, if Zeke has a tough lane, and if Snow has a tough lane, he's usually the one that's able to try to recover and turn the game around. And vice versa. If Flash has a tough game, the Snow and Zeke are the ones that have to pick up the slack. And so this is what makes Blink so terrifying and so effective as a team, is they always have fail-safes built in. They always have that flexibility of being able to adjust on the fly. A lot of teams, when they're behind, they can't recover at all. Or they're only reliant on, or they only know how to play when they're ahead. Blink, they're a team that know how to respond when they're behind, because all three of the core players are able to do so much on their own. And King Killer with that Invis Rune, Snow, he knows something's not quite right. Concussive Shot flies out, it's a bit too late. So Method Man just burned off a huge chunk of his mana. But the constant rotations from Horsemen and Ruckus looks like they're taking a page from Blink's book, as it looks like Blink Saki-sama, he's actually going for the D1 now. He wanted to go for the stacks. A good recognition coming out from him, and now he's going to be very careful. Victor Quisling could be called out. He actually goes in with King Killer, spots him out of the Ember, catches him out of Staring Chains, and Victor Quisling wishes he was back in Bandit Rising, as Method Man 3 kills up on him. Very rare to see this happening. The Skywrath Mage doing a lot of work, and that Sentry Ward actually being pinged out. They should actually de-ward that, just to be able to waste a bit more gold and time. So there we go. Method Man should be the farming up. And King Killer, while he is behind in terms of CS, because he's got that kill, and because he's got all the assist gold, he's still keeping up in terms of net worth. In fact, he should be slightly ahead. Yeah, he's actually ahead by about 100 gold, but the experience is much more critical, and once again, a great cast coming out from Gat. Good recognition coming out from him to make sure he uses it when Snow is right next to the range creep. Yoshi comes back and starts smacking Gats around with the Chilling Touch. So this is what Ancient Apparition can do, but that Saren Trade latches on Snow. Snow's going to be taking another death. 3 deaths in. Horsemen and Ruckus are looking absolutely fantastic. This time around, they've got a lot more discipline, a lot more coordination, and they're choosing not to throw this time. Dumblebee should be a smackdown Zeke. Zeke just barely lives. And Dumblebee, you can actually choose to continue to commit for that, but with the Firefly, you really don't want to chase that far in. And the Abbadon counter pick is working absolute wonders against the Batrider. 3 heroes down the mid lane. So we've got a Tri lane in the mid lane, and Yoshi, he's hugging his tower, doing what he can to try to get as much experience as possible, because he can't do anything against those 3 heroes. If he gets called out, especially now that Kin actually has that point available, actually looks like he's decided not to go for the point in the Slay the Fist, so he's going for a much more conventional build. And Clockwork got UGTFO kills Bambi once again. Victor having a bit of a tough game. This is what UGTFO loves to do. Every time he catches a pulling out on his own, when one's pulling or one's missing, he goes for a kill. He plays hyper aggressive, because with the Battery Assault, if you're ever caught up with the Clockwork, you're dead. The Battery Assault does such a huge amount of damage, you don't even need the cogs. A great cast coming out from Gats, good recognition coming out from him, and Flash can be taken for Horsemen and Ruckus. They're doing it. They're tearing Blink a new one. And it looks like we could be seeing new winners for the ODL2. Blink were able to win it with the ODL1 as well as the last ODL2 tournament last year. I don't know what it was called. I don't think it was called the ODL back then, since it was before Henry was the one organizing it. So Dumblebee over in the bottom lane with the Aphotic Shield. Blink can never, Zeke can never go on the Abbadon, because if he gets enough stacks off, Dumblebee just purges him off the Aphotic Shield, and now that he's got borrowed time, if you go on him, he will stand this guy in a man fight. Actually, Dumblebee's doing it right now. With the tower constantly right-clicking him, he gets a lot of regen from that. So he's actually it's a zero-sum game for him. He didn't lose too much HP for that, and Snow takes a fall. King Killer, whose Wu-Tang style has been tearing teams apart. It looks like Blink and no exception. Snow, this is the worst game of his life. 0-4, only 18 CS. Now Ember Spirit's catching up in terms of CS. So while I was talking about in a vacuum, the Death Prophet should beat the Ember Spirit, this isn't a vacuum, because though it's a team play game, and there's constant rotations happening for the supports, Bambi gets a shackle over on Gats. Gats actually takes forward. He's in corner position with the plasma field doing a lot of damage, but Bambi immediately dies. Usually the foe is going to be very careful. Flash should be able to retaliatory kill, especially with that Chilling Touch as well. Stack Link, he can actually die for a kill on Method Man if he really wants to, since he's got that plasma field available. Choose to play it safe. So there you go. Just talking about Flash being a very safe and consistent player. If it was Dumblebee or King Killer, they would have done. You bet their ass they would have done for that. And they would have probably gotten that kill. And unless rotations happened, he probably would have gotten out there as well. But Flash, he plays it safe. He knows that the only way they can lose this game is if he throws. And Dumblebee with the borrowed time coming off cooldown. Great recognition coming out from him. Zeke, he actually could choose to dive him, but the lasso is available, so he doesn't want to do anything too risky. And once again, it's a zero-sum game. Because the HP that he had from when he before the borrowed time and afterwards is exactly the same. But the exchanges, he's able to do a huge amount of damage on Zeke. He's able to put the Fear of God into him. And so 2,000 gold lead in favor of Horsemen and Ruckus, as well as 2,000 EXP lead. Things are looking pretty grim. Snow, once again, might be called out positions. King Killer rotates in this time. Gats hanging there, farming up the lane. Throws out Crips on the Killer last hit before he dies. Support is rotating in from Yoshi. There's only so much he can do. Actually, Yoshi can be feeding his life away as well as he walks into the staring chain from King Killer. King Killer's frozen feet in place, but it's only level 1 frozen feet. Cold feet. And so he's able to back himself out. Unfortunately, did waste a bottle charge with the Urn coming out from the Skywrath Mage. Keeps him up. And Ember Spirit, Ken's having a fantastic game. He's used to games where he breaks even on the Ember Spirit. He's just barely able to pick up his core items. When he has a game, when you give him a game where he gets a scene amount of farm from the beginning, it's looking very hard. Because Ember Spirit, one of the best late game carries in the game, because he eventually reaches a point where he does so much damage that his Slay the Fist will just one-shot the supports or drop them to about 20-30% HP. And that completely decides the fight, because they have to back off. Hookshot unfortunately misses from UGTFO. King Killer's got the double damage rune, pops the Flame Guard. Bambi turns him into a chicken, but they can choose to dive with this. Slay the Fist Staring Chain combination on Flash, and Flash gets cut in half. Bambi's still shackled. He tries to do what he can, but King Killer's Wu-Tang style, once again, too strong. He just cuts him down. He's having an absolutely fantastic game. So 9 minutes into the game, and he's already got 5 kills. Things are looking very grim for Blink. They're a team that always draft very powerful early mid-game heroes because they want to be able to win the game in the early game. They want to win their lanes and win the mid-game. When they lose their lane, this is when Blink, they start to fall apart. While they do have a lot of flexibility, because all 3 lanes have lost, and because there isn't much recovery potential for either of them, Zeke, a lot of hope is on him. And he's going in for a kill over on Dumblebee, but Dumblebee doesn't have borrowed time. He can just stand his ground. With the Aphotic Shield, he would out DPS down Zeke. But Bambi's there, about to rotate in. He's level 4, so he's got 2 points in the Ether Shock, and that could actually be enough. But they don't know if the borrowed time is off cooldown yet. Looks like Zeke, he's playing a bit passive. He doesn't want to die because he has to get his Blink Dagger. He's going to be the saving grace for his team. If he gets his Blink Dagger, in the next 2-3 minutes, he can start going for pickoffs. He might be able to catch up Method Man or Gats, because they're usually the ones out of the position, and Method Man, mega kill spree up on him. He's a walking sack of gold right now. And Skywrath Mage, he's very fragile. If you catch him in position, he dies. He pops like a balloon, and he just sprays you with gold. Snow, playing incredibly passive, he's 0 for 5. King Killer done for, catching him out slave for section combination. Hold shot for each TFO. There's the cogs, there's the battery assault. The custom shot lands, no cogs needed so far. He doesn't have enough mana for it yet. And the Mystic Flare from Method Man just cleans him up. They're able to kill him before they can even rotate. Horsemen and Ruckus completely taking Blink by storm. Blitzkrieging the Blitzkriegers. And Zeke left alone against Dumbledy. Dumbledy's playing hyper aggressive against him because he's a carry that can go toe to toe against the Bat Raider. He has got nothing to fear. Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is going to catch out 3. Great Ice Blast coming out from Yoshi. But there's no follow-up coming out from him. Actually, Gats, one more right-click, that actually could be his death. Flash gets to them, and that's going to be his death. But he turns over the Staring Chance, walls the Malediction, the Death Ward. Gats strikes his life away, but Flash as well could be taking a fall. The Malediction damage is going to be enough to be able to kill him off. And Method Man comes to be able to throw a bit more damage, but you can't deny through Malediction. It's one of the few spells that you can't deny to any hero. So Gats very happy to trade his life away. There we go. Look at that cheeky grin. And Bambi, if King Killer catches him out, he's got supports nearby, but he might actually die before they're able to react in time. King Killer playing very far forward, waiting for them to split, and the top lane, no one's farming because Flash is dead. So Flash usually gets a great farm, and Bambi caught out of position once again. Remnant up to Roshan in case he needs it to use it defensively. He's up to Roshan. Roshan, no first hit bash. Yoshi's on the punt, but he's on the mount. He's got enough for the chilling touch. But King Killer with that flame guard, he can mitigate vast majority, but Yoshi actually gets bashed up. Roshan says jump over this. King Killer's actually throwing him. He's actually very far out of position. Dumbledore comes in. Where's the air show? Uses it on himself. And he throws his spree away. Back right. That's his blink take up on him. Dumbledore's now caught out of position himself. He has to get the hell out of dodge. And King Killer, this is the biggest drawback on Horsemen and Ruckus. They do throw. And they haven't been throwing so far, but that could be a critical death going in favor of Blink. Because that spree gives a huge influx of gold over to the Batrunner that needs it. Dumbledore, borrowed times off cooldown. If he dies as well, then Blink are in a great lead to be able to turn the game around. Mystic Flare unfortunately whiffs. Dumbledore, Folic Shield's off, so Flash with the Plasma Field, if he commits to this, he actually backs off. Should have actually committed for that kill. Choosing to go for Gats, and Method Man blown apart by Snow, so he just found this recovery farm. And Gats once again gets torn apart by the Flash. Huge TFO, shows up late to the party. But King Killer, he's got his Sunday best on, and he's ready to dance. Perseverance already up on him. He really doesn't like going for drums unless he's playing from behind or when he's even. When he's ahead, he just rushes for the Battle Fury, and he gets it very quickly. The fastest I've seen him get it was the 12-minute mark. In this game, probably going to be looking at something like a 19-minute Battle Fury from the rate that he's farming, unless he's able to get a huge stack of kills. But Horsemen and Ruckus, while they do have these kills, they have to get towers. The towers is where the majority of the gold at, and it's also where you start to win the game, because you start to deprive them of map control, you start to deprive them of farm, and that's the really critical factor. You have to be able to deprive them access to the lanes, you have to deprive them access to their jungle. Because Flash, he can no longer farm the top lane, because TP support can't come in, it's too late for him to arrive, whereas you could come in from there, and so Flash can no longer farm the top lane unless he's got supports there. And Horsemen and Ruckus, they know this. Blink, Bambi hiding in the trees, still level 4, he really has been having a pretty poor game. Compared to both the supports, the Skywrath Mage at level 7, almost level 8. Snow gets caught out the Staring Chains. Gats is there, throws out the cast. He's been getting fantastic casts off this game. Malediction just to ensure he doesn't get away, and he no longer can make it back away. The Malediction will be enough to kill him. Yoshi gets driven back by the Death Ward. Gats gonna be a sacrificial lamb as Zeke might be able to clean up. No, the Staring Chains is there. King Killer bodyguards his flatmate and his best friend. And he uses the bubble to ensure that tower hit would be to take him down. That's the power of friendship. And Zeke, he's not really too impressed. As Snow took a death. And the bottom lane, we've got 3 heroes from Horsemen and Ruckus, grouping up to be able to take that tier 1. And once that tier 1 falls, you have access to, they can no longer farm their ancients or stack them. And once that mid tower goes, they lose this much map control. And the reason why that's critical is that means that they can no longer farm their jungle, because you've got the gang parts coming in from the mid lane as well as from the top lane. And so it makes it very difficult for them to farm their jungle contested. It means that the mid lane, they've got this much area where they know they don't have TP support to be able to react in time. So if they're ever in this area, they're going to be caught, and Horsemen and Ruckus catch him out, they're dead. Same over here. This entire area, Flash can't be there without support nearby. He gets a good link off in Dumbledore, but the Nazgul doesn't really give a damn. Ancient Seal up on Flash to disable him. Usually TFO, he's out for blood. Looks like he's going for the early Blade Mail up on him. Actually, Cog Traps and Zeke actually doing a fair amount of damage. He had Folic Shield almost kills him. UTFO's going to be throwing his life away, unfortunately, as Dumbledore had to back off. And that's the drawback of the core position in the Bandits. You don't have the early points of Miscoil. Miscoil is absolutely insane. Bambi spots out Ken, actually turns him a chicken. Ken unfortunately ran back into it. Now his last suit unfortunately isn't online. Gets caught out with the Ice Blast. He might be able to turn it for a kill. Actually, with the Fire Remnant damage, he ran into the wrong one. If he ran into the other one he placed down, he would have kept himself alive. Misplay coming out from King Killer. And that gives Blink another critical kill. They can't afford to take any more deaths than their core heroes. They really have to get the core items up. And Snow, while Death Prophet's a hero that has to get ahead and stay ahead, if he's able to find his Yule Scepter, he becomes a lot more difficult to kill in these fights. And when Death Prophet's alive, even if it's only for 2.5 seconds longer, if he can get off one more Crypt Swarm, that can make or break a fight. Especially with the Exorcism flying around, and such an obscene amount of damage coming out from the spirits. He doesn't even have to really be doing anything, he just sit there. And it looks like Gat's maxing the Malediction, makes a lot of sense because he's playing so aggressively. But his cast timings have been absolutely perfect. He's making sure that you actually see him go for the range creep. Dumbledore runs in, gets the tower before it's denied. Flash has got the Static Blink, and with the face boost actually keeping up with him. But Flash doesn't have a mech up in time. Borrowed time is popped. Dumbledore should have actually popped it a bit earlier to ensure that he gets it off and gets a bit more HP out of it. But Flash contemplates the cogs, Snow pops the Exorcism, trying to bodyguard his teammate, actually kills off Method Man, the Ice Blast called up on him. UTFO catches out Snow, but he can't man fight against the Death Prophet, especially when Exorcism's up. You run the hell the other way. Aphonic Shield's now up, immediately pops, and Snow backs away. Gats, he's up for this, he's got the cast, he's got the Malediction. He might want to second guess himself. But King Killer, he's joined the fray. RZA, Gizzard, and the King Killer, he's got all three spirits, all the Wu-Tang clan there with him. But Snow, with the Witchcraft movement speed as well as the Phase Boots, is able to make it out there. Looks like he's going towards the Yule Scepter, and he definitely needs it this game. Blink, he's the only one that's actually fired up his core item, that's the Blink Dagger. But the Bat Rider pickoffs, he's been using them reactively when the enemy team overcommits as opposed to proactively. But these Ice Blasts from Yoshi are doing a lot of work. Dumbledore gets caught up with it. He does a Aphonic Shield on time, so he does absorb the majority of the damage. And you've got a great lasso over on Gats. He's going to be caught out. He's going to die to the firebomb damage. Actually, Ether Shock cleans him up. King Killer Slater fisting like a champ, catches out Blink, and Saki Sama taking a lot of damage to that Arcane Bolt, almost enough to kill him, one more right click needed. But Blink, they get one for nothing, and they're very happy with that. Especially since all it cost was a lasso. Lasso's got a fairly short cooldown, you're more than happy, every time you get a kill with a lasso, go for it. Bambi, this is the first fight he's actually survived through. Aside from when King Killer threw both those times. And the tower taking a lot of pressure, that tower should be taking a fall. In terms of gold lead, it's about 5,000 gold lead, still in favor of Horsemen. The Ruckus, the Ice Blast is going to fly out and catch out Dumbledore as well as Kin. And the Ember Spirit, every time he uses the Ice Blast, he becomes very fragile. The EXP lead is closing, and that's going to be a critical factor, especially since Ember Spirit chose not to go for the Drums of Endurance. The reason why you got drums in the Ember Spirit is because he is so goddamn squishy. But Ember Spirit, he's about 600 gold off his Battle Fury, and once he gets that Battle Fury, you actually can't you can't really do anything against the Ember Spirit. You can't push towers anymore because he could just slide out the creep wave. As long as Dumbledore's there, since Zeke doesn't have his 4-staff, if he goes in on King Killer, you shield him. If you go in on Dumbledore, he laughs in your face, pops the borrowed time, and turns around and starts smacking you. And he's got the Vladimir's Offering up. Vladimir's Offering does a lot of work on the Ember Spirit, not because of the lifesteal, but because of the armor. Ember Spirit, he has 3 armor. He has incredibly terrible stack growth. That's the only thing that keeps him balanced. And so the 5 armor from the Vladimir's Offering already gives him more armor than he will gain from natural stat growth, at least until, I believe, about level 16. He has absolutely atrocious agi growth. And since he's not going to be building any agi items, the only stats that Ember Spirit usually gets is from the drums, unless you're going for the Skadi build. But with the Battle Fury, Kin probably going to be building towards a Chrysalis, since you want to just stack damage, because you don't necessarily have to go for a BKB this game. You never go for BKB unless you absolutely have to, and King Killer, even then, he hates going for BKB on the Ember Spirit for good reason, because Ember Spirit, he doesn't win fights by man fighting. He doesn't win. If your Ember Spirit's ever in a position where he eats a stun, then you're not playing the Ember Spirit correctly. You've got 2 fantastic disjoints. You can disjoint the Slater Fist if you time properly. You can disjoint with the Fire Remnant. You should always be placing Fire Remnants defensively in these engagements, so you can always zip out. And Slater Fist has an absolutely obscene range. So that's the original cast range, and then it's got about 500 radius, on 550 radius on top of that. So it's effectively 275 more radius on top of the original range. So the real range is about up to there. And so because he could constantly throw out these Slater Fists, you don't ever want to throw out ordinary right clicks with the Ember Spirit, unless it's to finish a hero off, or unless there's nothing else they could do to respond to you. So if you're up against the Shadow Shaman, he's blowing all spells, you just run up to him with the Flame Gun, you just right click him down then. Otherwise you just stand back and use the Slater Fist, that's the majority of your damage. Dumbledore runs very far forward, he eats the Hex, Slater Fist Chain combination on Yoshi as well as Flash. He needs more points in them for the lockdown to be more effective. You really want that 3-second lockdown. Actually, another great lasso initiation over on Gats. No Aphonic Shield coming up from Dumbledore. He's caught up the silence. And UTFO catches out Flash. He actually died. UTFO takes the force. Master Bolt drop on top of the cogs. Snow eats the Arcane Bolt in the face. And while it's happening, Dumbledore diving like a boss because he knows he's got the borrowed time. Death Prophet cleans up Gats, but the Method Man's able to clean up with help from the Malediction. Flameback should be enough to be able to kill him. Method Man, never mind. The Earnest Shadows as well as the Aphonic Shield keeping it alive. And Zeke, he's got the Blink Dagger coming off cooldown very shortly, but Dumbledore's already on his case. And with the Firefly off cooldown, it's not going to get renewed for a Season 2. And Zeke could be taking fall, especially the Fire Runner zipping in. King Killer, he hates Dumbledore's gold. So he's going to take it from one more right click, and Zeke can't escape from there. There you go. So Ember Spirit, he gets that last hit, and that's Battle Fury up, 19 minutes in the game. So he was able to get up in the same at the rate that I thought he would. Now that he's got a pre-20-minute Battle Fury, the game's actually very difficult for Blink to be able to win because they have a mid-game lineup. Blink doing it, if their idea for their game plan was for all their heroes to be able to farm up their first set of items. So if Razor can get his Mechanism, if Batrider can get a Blink Dagger, and if Death Rock can get a Yule Scepter, once you have those 3 items and you have Mass Open Wards up and the Ice Blast, then you group as 5. Because your team fight with the Exorcism up, every time your ultimates are up, you group up as 5 because they can't fight against that. But because Horsemen and Ruckus were able to disrupt them, because they were able to win all 3 of the lanes decisively, since you could leave Dumbledy alone, the core Abbadon pickup is doing a huge amount of work, because he's one of the few carries that can stand toe-to-toe against the Batrider, because he has a way to purge off sticky napalm charges. The only other carry hero that you can leave alone against the Batrider is the Slark, and that's because of Dark Pact. But even then, it's still very risky, because Slark is such a squishy hero. Abbadon, he's a strength hero, and once he gets borrowed time, you're not going to kill him, because he's got a Photic Shield. He's damn nigh impossible to kill in that core position for the first 20 minutes. He's actually, it looks like he could be going towards the Abyssal Blade or towards the Radiant. Oh, 2-man Mystic Flare, as well as the Remnant comes up and kills off 2 off the bat. The Horsemen and Ruckus are running over Blake. Zeke gets the last 2 off of Dumbledy. The Nazgul doesn't give a damn. He's coming at you. You can't escape the Nazgul. Looks like having a bit of lag issues on my end. And they take 3. They take Flash as well as Snow. Zeke's the only core to survive, but Batrider, he's probably the lowest priority core because he's got his Blink Dagger. All he is Initiator. And usually TFO's already outclassing him on that. They're able to take a Tattoo, and they're paying Gats. He's not even in the fight. He does this a lot. He never seems to show his face in these fights. So he usually split pushes while Horsemen and Ruckus actually fight as 4. And when they're ahead, you can do this. Otherwise, you want Gats. If Gats was there, that would have been a full team-man wipe. If you got a good cast block off, if you could get a good cast bounce off on 2-3 heroes, if you could drop that Death Ward, that's game. You take 5, you take that Tier 2, and you take another Tier 2. And once they lose this Tier 2, they've lost all this amount of map vision. Because, especially since, in terms of map vision, Blink, they've got 1 ward up. They've got 2 wards up, so 2 highly defensive wards. This ward is an aggressive ward that you place up. It also gives rune vision, so they've got that going for them. But you use this ward to see their ancients. This ward's defensive to be able to help you guard your Tier 2, but because your Tier 2 in the top lane has already taken a fall, you've lost this much map control. And once you de-ward these wards, Horsemen and Ruckus can do what newbie and Vici Gaming does best, which is the shutout strategy. So you take their Tier 2 towers as early as possible, you get a gem, you aggressively de-ward every single one of their wards, so you take out this ward as well, then you place your own wards up, and you split up your heroes then, you farm all their lanes, and every time they show themselves out of position, you kill them. And when you eventually get your next set of items, you've got enough force, and because the enemy team is so shut down, and because they're so delayed in their items and their experience, they can't recover. Because the Death Prophet, she recovers by either getting kills, getting towers. And Blink, they've got on 1 tower. And Snow, he's gotten 3 kills, but he's taken 9 deaths. This is absolutely astounding. I think he's actually got the most deaths in this team. Very rare to see Snow underperform like this. He's usually a very solid mid player. And it's usually a fairly even matchup with him v Kin or him v Dumble. But in this game, Horsemen and Ruckus, they're taking them by storm. They're taking apart Blink before they can group together. So when your enemy is stronger, when they're grouped up as 5, what do? You disrupt them. You prevent them from grouping as 5. You kill them over and over again in the laning stage where they're at their weakest. And then once they're behind, you make sure they're not able to recover by taking that tower. You win the tactical game, then you win the macro game. So once you take out that map control, that's the effective area that they can farm. Once you take out those wards, they don't see anything past this. The only creeps they can farm are the creeps that push up to their Tier 3s. So what you do then, you farm your jungle, you farm their jungle, you farm all 3 lanes at once, you maybe take Roshan, you wait until you have your next set of items, then you group up and you go for the final push. And at that point, Blink, they can't recover. They've already reached the point I don't think they can recover at this point, unless if Horsemen and Ruckus lose a fight. Blink, if they can win 1 fight, where they're able to wipe Horsemen and Ruckus or trade even, then things look up for them. Because there's a lot of spree gold up on Horsemen and Ruckus, and if they're able to end those sprees, they're able to find a huge influx of gold, and more importantly, a huge influx of experience, which will enable them to defend their high ground. Because with the Mass Serpent Wards and with the Batrider that can constantly jump in and pick off one of your attacking heroes, they've got a very powerful lineup to be able to hold high ground. Since with the Crypt Swarm as well as the Ether Shock and the Plasma Field, creep waves will melt the instant they reach the ramp before they can breach high ground. And so that gives them a huge amount of total power, and so Horsemen and Ruckus, they have to realize this. If they don't fall for the trap and try to man down that Tier 3 and breach high ground before they're ready, and if they're able to play patient and start depriving them of vision, get a gem up and start de-warding, and get the next set of items up, if they play it safe, If they play it to the late game, then they have a chance to win this game. But otherwise, if they decide to go too early, actually, Method Man caught out of position, throws a concussion shot, gets lassoed up. This is what I'm talking about. This is how Blink recovers, is if they get these pickups. So Dumbledore runs in on his own, because he knows that UGTFO is waiting in the wings. He runs up to Snow, starts smacking around with the Radiance up on him. This is a 22-minute Radiance up on the core position of the Abbadon. Blink Saki-sama caught up the hook shot walls as the Abbadon is can be taken forward. He jumps to mess up so UGTFO might be taking falls while Flash is there to clean him up. Death Ward does a lot of damage. Flash, Colin plays with the Staring Chain Slam for his combination, and Dumbledore should be able to clean him up, but King Killer says mine, and he zips in with the Remnant. And while I'd like to think that Jamie was in a position, it also could have been a bait. But regardless, great game sense coming up from Dumbledore as well. GGTFO immediately responding to that. So Blink, they got an inch, but HUR will take a mile off them. And they've lost their last tier 2, so they no longer have any form of map control besides these wards. So once they de-ward their wards, they can't do anything. They can farm up the jungle, and Cats, once again, split pushing on his own. He really loves doing this. He actually has enough gold for phase drums, and now he's going for an Aggregate Center. This is an incredibly rich Witch Doctor. In terms of net worth, Dumbledore, twice the net worth. He's got the net worth of Zeke and Snow combined. Flash, this is the worst farm I've ever seen of him. He's just barely got mech up, but the mech isn't going to be enough, because that Slate of Fist takes up more damage than he's taking out more damage you can sustain. Last two is ready. Unfortunately, Zeke wasn't able to get off because he hesitated for a slight second. Was caught out in Staring Chains. Dumbledore's now there running forward because he's got the borrowed time, and that Radiance doing work. Snow caught out the Mystic Flare. He takes the fall. Dumbledore posts his borrowed time, and Nazgul doesn't give a damn. And GG being called. Blink have taken that first loss of the ODL, even if it is a scrim. Horsemen and Ruckus are able to take it, and it looks like we're going into a game number 2. So we're going to be taking a quick break, and we'll be right back for game number 2. Horsemen and Ruckus, they're doing it, but can they keep it up? If they could 2-0 Blink, that's when we'll start to be really impressed, and that's when Blink will start to be afraid. So stay tuned for more, we'll be right back. Actually, it looks like that could be it for tonight. So there you have it. Horsemen and Ruckus able to deliver Blink's first defeat, even if it isn't a scrim. Absolutely phenomenal performance coming out from every player. Gats and Method Man were out of position 1 or 2 times, but Gats' game sense with that cask, that won them the game. From level 1, he consistently landed the cast. He threw the cast when he knew Stone was next to the range creep. That's great game sense. He actually seen a few ganks. He actually cast the range creep because he knew that he wouldn't get a closer distance in time. So when you play Witch Doctor, these are things that you have to keep in mind. And when you're playing against the Witch Doctor, you never want to be close to a range creep if you're a ranged hero when the Witch Doctor's off the map, because for that very reason. If you get hit by 2 cast bounces, you're dead, especially with the rotation coming in. And King Killer, his Wu-Tang style on the Ember Spirit. I believe he's got a 100% win rate on that hero. So for those of you listening that are on opposing teams, ban the Ember Spirit or else risk King's Wu-Tang style. So that'll be it for tonight. Stay tuned for more tomorrow.